All right. So today, myself and my coworker Heather will be presenting about assistive technology, what it is, and why it's important. So Heather, I'll hand it over to you to get us started.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. So, as Jana said, my name is Heather Berg. I'm a digital equity specialist here at Accessible Web, and I'm going to kick us off with a definition of assistive technology and then offer a couple of points of consideration for us to kind of keep in mind during our conversation today. So, what is assistive technology? Also known as AT, assistive technology is hardware and or software solutions that enable users with disabilities to perceive, operate, understand, and interact with digital content. Although we're going to concentrate today on assistive technology in the digital space, it is important to note that a wide variety of AT also exists in the physical world. Our first consideration to keep in mind today as we chat is that assistive technology does not compensate for inaccessible content. In fact, assistive technology enables users with disabilities to interact with accessible content. The second point for consideration that I'll offer is that there are specific WCAG success criteria that are directly related to users of assistive technology. And we're not going to dive any deeper into that specifically today, but if you are interested, drop us a comment and we could do a separate webinar specifically on that topic. So with that as a little bit of a background, I'll hand it back to you, Megan, to talk to us about some types of assistive technology.
Thank you, Heather. All right. So today we're going to cover three main groups of AT. So that'll be text to speech and speech to text, screen zoom, and alternative input devices. So within text to speech and speech to text, that would be AT that can either read aloud text on a page or accept speech input and turn it into text. You could somewhat consider speech to text a version of alternative input, but for this case, we're going to consider it in this category since it's more of a method and not an actual tool being used. An example here for text to speech would be screen readers such as JAWS, NVDA, and VoiceOver, some of which are included with your native operating systems. And then another one are refreshable Braille displays. Moving into screen zoom technologies, these typically will increase the size of content on a page, but you also have some that zoom into specific sections of the page and not just the entire screen. So you may have seen this before as like a little square that looks like a magnifying glass and you can move it around your screen. And then alternative input devices. This goes far beyond just external keyboards and mouse usage. So you have joysticks, sip and puff, and eye tracking devices. And all of these will be going into more detail on the next slides. So screen readers, who benefits? Blind and low vision users and users with dyslexia or other cognitive disabilities. And here we have an example of a young woman using a screen reader on her phone to navigate a touchscreen. Moving on to screen zoom, who benefits? Users with low vision. And something that's important to remember, not just with this AT, but with all AT, that you may have a temporary loss of vision or develop low vision as you age, or people that you know are your users. So this AT might end up being way more useful for you than you realize. Here we have another example of a screen zoom magnifying glass, and it's zoomed in on a section of text on a test to identify accessibility screenshot. And moving to alternative input devices, who benefits? People with disabilities affecting mobility will benefit from joysticks, sip and puff, and eye tracking technologies, and also people that use an external keyboard for interacting with touchscreen devices. Here we have an example of somebody using a joystick device with a keyboard, and then we also have a cartoon graphic that shows a diagram of how eye gaze tracking may be used. And now I'm going to hand it back to you, Heather, to go over some common misconceptions about assistive technology.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. So yeah, as Megan mentioned, we're going to go through 4 common misconceptions and debunk them. So the first one should sound familiar. I'm going to repeat myself because it's super important and I mentioned it earlier, and that is good AT can compensate for inaccessible content. That is not true. In fact, the assistive technology is what enables users with disabilities to interact with accessible content. So in fact, if your website or your web application or even your social media content isn't designed with accessibility in mind, it's going to remain unavailable to your users of assistive technology with assistive technology. Number two, the basic assistive technologies provided inside of an overlay tool technology provide an equivalent experience to those of the highly customizable options that we've discussed here today. This again is not true. In fact, having to make adjustments to your assistive technology or jump through hoops just to access content provides a categorically bad user experience. Most native users of assistive technology have their tech pretty tightly dialed in for their unique use case, and having to make any changes or adjustments just to gain access to one specific piece of content is a poor, inaccessible user experience. We strongly encourage you do not use overlay tools as an accessibility solution. Number three on our list, spot testing your design or content with a screen reader will ensure that you provide an accessible and efficient user experience for your native screen reader users. This is not true. Although we absolutely encourage you to do spot checking with a variety of types of assistive technology during your accessibility journey, there is no way that someone using a screen reader to spot check will be able to have an experience that's on par with that of a native full-time screen reader user. And in fact, we suggest that really the only way to ensure that those users are having a great, efficient user experience is to conduct user testing with native assistive technology users. Fourth and final misconception that I want to debunk is specific to screen readers, and that is to say that if you test the speech output of your content with a screen reader and it is working smoothly, you can assume that your refreshable braille display users are also having a great experience. This is not true. Screen readers handle audio output and refreshable braille display output differently. And again, the only way to really ensure, in particular, that your refreshable braille display users are having a great experience is to test with native braille readers. And I will say one last thing related to this topic that sometimes gets overlooked, and that is for deaf-blind consumers, refreshable braille display is often their only or primary means of consuming information. So it's super important that we don't overlook this subset of users. So I hope you found those helpful. I'm going to hand it back to you, Meagan, to wrap us up.
Thank you, Heather. So how can Accessible Web help you with this? We have several solutions and services we can offer. We have our web accessibility software that can help you with automated scanning and learning about all of the current standards. We offer accessibility audits for your web pages, and that comes also with a VPAT if you choose to. And then we have consulting and training, and you can get support from our specialists as you work through accessibility issues and questions on your website.